So it has occurred to me that I have a lot of little things I wanted to talk about on this channel, but I also don't feel like dedicating a video to each and every one of them. So in this one, we are going to be talking about those little things one at a time. And to get things kind of started right off, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, which is my laptop. Now, I did hint that I'd be getting something better than the 13-inch MacBook Pro that I had. And in the last it was a few vlogs ago when I was doing the MacBook Madness, I was switching between the 15-inch Arendelle and the 13-inch Sandy Bridge MacBook Pros, and it was just a clusterfuck. Let's not sugarcoat this. It was a clusterfuck because the Arendelle was a laggy mess, and the person who hooked me up with the laptop, DOSDude1, even agrees with it because I sent it back to him not that long ago. The 13-inch is just so tiny, and while it does handle what I want it to do very well, it's just so tiny, and trying to use Lightroom and Photoshop and other things like that on it is a nightmare and a half. So my plan was to get something a bit better when the money allowed. And in this case, I had a little bit of extra left over after all the costs associated with moving cleared. So I decided to get something a bit better. Now initially the plan was I didn't have much of a budget, so I couldn't have gone balls to the wall with this and went on and got a spec'd out Retina MacBook Pro. But I had enough to get at least something that would get me by for years to come. So I went to DOSDude1, the eBay master, and we tried to find something. We weren't finding anything that I wanted in my price range. He suggested a 2012 Retina, but I'm kind of iffy about those ones because they were known for their first generation product, and they're known for having issues. And my laptop is basically my workhorse computer. It's my last line of defense for if something happens to the desktop. So I need my laptop to be rock solid and not have any issues. So we came to an agreement that let's look for a 2012 Retina. I'm trying to hold back a cough. Sorry about that. And he will trade me his current main computer for the 2012 Retina. Essentially, I buy him a Retina. He goes ahead and gives me his computer. So that ended up happening. We first bought one from Goodwill, actually, on eBay, because they have a Goodwill. Goodwill sells stuff on eBay too. We bought that one, and what happened was PayPal had an issue and wouldn't mark the transaction as cleared. So we made some calls, we got it done, but then they got back to us and said, oh, it's shipped. And then they got back to us again and were like, oh, we relisted it and sold it to somebody else and refunded the money. So we thought it was a big mess. We thought they shipped it to DOSDude1, but charged me for it, because that's what we originally did, but they thought we were two separate people buying the same thing. I don't know. But that was a bust, so we went looking again, and we found another 2012 Retina. They actually cleaned up really nicely, and Colin actually got it replaced at the Apple Store. Well, just the display, because the display was ghosting quite a bit. They tried to get it in for the defective GPU, to just give them a new motherboard out of the kindness of their hearts, but they ended up not doing that. But other than that, it was A-okay, just fine, no problem. So now I've got a new machine, and here it is, if I can get it into the frame. It's a 15-inch mid-2012 MacBook Pro, and just not any mid-2012. This one is the fully decked-out model with a 2.6 GHz i7, 8 gigs of RAM, 1 gigabyte NVIDIA GeForce 650M, and the high-res display. and it looks beautiful. And as you can see, it looks awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and aim the camera upwards here. Actually going to aim it towards my back display there, just in case there's anything sensitive on the display. Yeah, I had a message thread up. Pretty sure they'd not like to be broadcast to YouTube. Anyway. Whoop, let's not bump the thing. Come back down here, you can see it is simply a thing of beauty. And I'm actually going to be editing this video on this very system. Because this system, if you'll remember, I had a Precision M4700 at the beginning of the year. And I sold that machine because I wanted to get back to Mac, because Windows 10 is just a flaming pile of garbage. And I got tired of it and I wanted to go back to Mac, and I sadly got ripped off on Craigslist because I bought a 13-inch MacBook Pro. Not the one I have here, actually. DOSDude1 has it now. It was water damaged, and they decided not to tell me about it. And it booted up just fine and worked. It was just a bit slow when plugged into power. So that was a big problem. I got royally screwed on that one. And so he offered to send me the Arendelle and such. And I used that for a while, and that thing, well, it was a good machine nonetheless. I mean, it was showing its age really, really badly. So this, it's an awesome machine. It's a lovely little machine. I can actually use AirDrop, I can use continuity, I can use handoff, I can use all that wonderful stuff now. It's a beautiful machine. It runs great. No issues whatsoever. And I can actually watch YouTube at 60 FPS now, rather than the Arendelle stuttering like a madman. So, it's a good machine, and it's hopefully going to get me by for years to come, unless Apple decides to go ahead and drop support for it on the next release, which I hope they do not do. Anyway, that is the MacBook Pro, which is my new main laptop. But now let's talk about other things. Other things. I guess while we're talking about laptops, we should talk about the other project I had going on here, which was this little guy here. We see opposing half of the 2010 13-inch MacBook Pro that I had, that I was working on. Unfortunately, I think this thing is kind of boned. I can't get it to boot back up, even. I mean, obviously I'm not Louis Rossmann, and I can't really fix it professionally, but I wanted to see if like a little alcohol bath would be enough to at least get it to come back to life somewhat. But unfortunately it's not. I plug it in, I do get a I plug it in, I do get a green light on the MagSafe. The fan does not spin, and actually the green light will go away after a few seconds, and then it will just go away until I unplug it and plug it back in again. So I think that thing's boned, but the mission parameters for that project were to just get the data off of it, which, you know, is successful, because over here I've actually got the hard drive transplanted into this very, in a bad way, enclosure. And I just need to get the data off it. Sadly, the person who owned this MacBook bought a PC as a replacement. And why I say sadly is because if it were a Mac, I could just drop the hard drive into that enclosure and just hand her the enclosure and be done with it. Because in that case, I mean, it's only like an $8 enclosure. I don't mind giving it to somebody and just buying another one at a later time. But since she's on a PC, I have to pull all the data off, wipe the drive, PC format it, put all the data back on it, then hand it to her. And I could just tell her, get Mac drive, but for someone not very tech savvy, that's probably an order too high. So I don't want to do that. Anyway, let's move on to other bigger and better things. And that is the other thing that I got here, which was kind of it was a birthday gift. and it's something that I've been wanting for quite some time, and that is a much better camera. This is a Nikon D7200 I got for my birthday this year. It's a pretty amazing little camera, and the reason why I wanted something like this is because while the Rebel T3i is an amazing camera in and of itself for the price, I also felt like I was kind of trying to think here. Outgrowing it a bit is the right phrase to use here. I felt like I was outgrowing its capabilities. Like, this camera absolutely kills it in low light. I've taken quite a few pictures at night with this thing, and it just kills it. It's so good. I'm going to shoot it up to ISO 3200 without it being unrecoverable. I haven't tried anything above that, but I wouldn't doubt that it could go higher and be alright. But this thing has just been super, and the best part is the dual SD slots, because what I can do is I can have this one be the main SD and this one be the secondary. So this one, you know, is the one I mainly use. I pull out of the camera to get the photos off of it, put it back in. In the case that I kind of, you know, didn't have my caffeine in the morning, the second one is there. So if I forget to put the SD card back in the camera, I'm not like, oh fuck, I forgot to take the SD card out of my computer and put it back in the camera. Oh no. So it's a nice little ass-saving feature there. It does have NFC. I've never used it. I don't have a device that really can make use of it. It has Wi-Fi, which is, I hate to say it, borderline useless on this camera, because just the apps on the phones that use it are ridiculously bad. I don't know why Nikon is insistent on that, but we do have a nice little display here that lights up. It's really nice. I tried shooting some videos on this camera. It's no bueno. It just, I will hold on to my beliefs. I'm trying to find the right phrase there. I will hold on to my belief that DSLRs are really not meant for casual video like what I do here on this channel. They are really meant, like, if you want to use these for video, it's meant for more as a professional thing, because you're not going to want to use the built-in battery for video, because you will absolutely melt the built-in battery. You'll want to have a battery grip, which is what is behind this little flap here. You won't want to use the built-in battery, and you'll have an external mic and all that wonderful stuff. This thing is just simply not meant for video. It's meant for still shots, and if you want to use it for video, you're probably going to be using it in a setting which, you know, not casual YouTube perusal. So that's it for the camera. And last but not least, if I can get it out of the frame here, talk about phones a little bit. And I kind of maybe misplaced what I was going to talk about, which is interesting. That's what I get for having a phone. I care about it, but I don't use it as a main device. So we're going to jump cut while I find it, knowing my luck, the minute I flip the camera off, it is going to pop right up. Funny how that works. That's exactly what happened, and it was right under the pile of newspapers at the corner of my desk. Anyway, I have not had some good things to say about Lenovo, but at the same time, this kind of passed into my hands for a good deal, and I couldn't pass it up. This little guy here, which is a Moto G4 Play. I don't mind lock screen because I have everything hidden. I'm actually going to dismiss all my notifications. Oh, you can't, because you can't dismiss notifications while you are locked. Okay, so this is it. It's really nice. The fingerprint sensor is really on point with this thing. Like, they did a good job with it. But as for why I even bothered with this, because as you can see, I still have Sprint. I kind of wanted a device to use with my Sprint line, or the Sprint line on my mom's account, because I created that while I was over there during the summer, because T-Mobile was absolutely useless where we were, and kind of just held on to it because the price to add the line was negligible. And so that's kind of why I kept it around, why it's been kept around. So it also serves is my Freedom Pop device, because I do have Freedom Pop Global for various reasons. And it serves also as my backup phone for if something happens to my iPhone, because actually that's a good story as for why I would need this. Because what happened was my good friend Cole, that I frequently trade and buy and sell stuff to, we traded for this rose gold iPhone 6s, and I had the space gray, he had the rose gold. I wanted the rose gold, he kind of wanted the space gray. The problem is neither of us had backup phones, so I opted to go first in trading, and that kind of left me with Ryan's iPhone 6, shattered iPhone 6, of which I am grateful, but it was still kind of a chore, because like trying to talk on that thing, getting shards in your ears is just not very fun. So after that point, we decided we were going to go buy some stupid phones, make some stupid financial decisions and whatnot, and I ended up buying a G4 Play, which was actually quite a fair bit less expensive. And Ryan ended up going back and buying a G4 Plus, which is what I have here. So what ended up happening was I said, yo, since the G4, since I plan to actually use this phone a bit more than you do and such like that, would you be down to trade devices and I'll pay you the price difference, over time? And he was like, yeah, sure, why not? And that proved to be a good trade, because his G4 Play is kind of just sitting on the shelf doing nothing, and mine, I've been using the crap out of it, even though my main device is an iPhone. So it's a neat little device, and it does work on all 4 carriers in the United States, which is nice. My iPhone does too, but then again, there's iMessage we have to worry about, and all that wonderful iCloud crap. So it's a good thing I have this. It's a good device to swap SIMs in and out of. Now with that said, let's focus on the very last thing that I want to talk about, and that's my computer. Alright, now we're looking at the custom build, and you may recall a couple videos ago I did say that the reason why I wasn't really churning out many videos is because I had bought a GTX 760, 1060, I mean it sounds the same, 10, 7, I don't know. Anyway, I had bought a 1060 and the drivers were not compatible, which is why I was just kind of hanging by the wayside. I mean, I did try to pick up and learn Premiere, but it was just a royal nightmare and a half to really learn. Whereas the Final Cut Pro, I kind of know what I'm doing and everything. So, here we have a bit of a changed scenario here. I don't know if you can see that. You can't because that little doohickey's in the way. That's a 970 in my machine now. So what pretty much happened here, as I reached out to Ryan and knowing he has a 970 and I have a 1060, I said, hey, well, I'm waiting for NVIDIA to get their shit together with the 1060 drivers. Would you be opposed to swapping me your 970 for my 1060? He was like, sure, why not? And given that the 1060 is a better card, I think. I mean, it has more memory. It has a more constrained memory bus speed. But everything else, like the improved architecture and such, just makes up for it. But this card is not bad for what it is. And it allows the Hackintosh to work. Because the 9 series cards are supported by not OS X, but the NVIDIA web drivers So it works great, and I mean, it allows me to get back into the game with the Hackintosh, even though I do have a mid 2012 here that's relatively powerful. So, pretty much, that's it for this video. Like, this is everything I really needed to talk about. So hopefully you enjoyed this bit of a catching up video, and I'll see you guys around later.